So I think we have a problem societally that, well, I actually kind of like it as a problem, just in the way that any problem can be interesting or just engaging. And the problem that I see is that we've got uh, a weird view of our bodies and our how we feel things. And yeah, you could say emotions, but that word has baggage, especially for men. And anyway, I got to thinking about it, and I enjoyed a particular analogy that I came up with, and I wanted to share it because I think well, for me anyway, it resonates and it helps put it in a box that I can actually grasp, that I can see and be like, oh, yeah, that makes sense to my kind of caveman brain. And that is, I was thinking about myself, the this organism called Dylan that calls himself Dylan, and I was thinking about, think about yourself as like a battleship. That's really what I was coming down to. I was like, okay, I'm a battleship. I've got all of these systems. A battleship is this contained organism that has all of these different systems that work together, and they have to accomplish certain tasks. They have to be able to respond to what's happening around it, that kind of thing, right? And it's funny to me because I think many men, when the topic of emotions come up, they they might either shut down or tend to look at it as something that is not important to them, or um, not a strategic tool set that they can use to their advantage. So, on the battleship idea, if you can imagine that if you had two battleships and one of them had full capacity, was, top notch, everything working correctly, all of the systems were dialed, and the crew was well trained and responds appropriately and all of that, just like normal battleship. And then you have another battleship where the captain is so distrustful of, say, the instruments, all of the various dials and levers, and just kind of the sensory array that something like a battleship would have. Imagine all of the radar and the sonar and the just even the guys on deck with binoculars, and all of the ways that a complex machine like that uh, senses what's going on so that it can make a decision about what to do. So the captain can decide, I think we should do this. And those sensory systems, the things that give the captain the information that he needs to make an appropriate action happen, that's kind of like our emotions, because the emotions are feelings. That is what's giving us information about what's happening out there. It's telling you things that help you make a better decision. And to me, if one of those battleships does not have full access to all of those sensory systems, then that battleship is at a severe strategic disadvantage. It's not even close. Okay, if you have a captain that is afraid of his radar screen, like, oh, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. Cover it up. Nope, I don't want to see it. It's dangerous. It's dangerous. Uh, that captain is making a strategic blunder, I would say. But we've got a population of men that are, and justifiably, I want to be clear on that. I think men are justifiably skeptical of a lot of their emotions. But we've got ourselves in a pickle here where we're afraid of our feelings. And we live in an environment that justifies that in a way, and that will punish certain acts of feeling, because socially men are kind of we're stuck in a rut then, and it appears that we will be punished if we step out of that rut. And this goes back to, childhood. If you want to keep the battleship analogy going, it would be like we learned this stuff in Naval Academy. Like we were taught to be afraid of our instrumentation. And so then when we actually get to the point where we're in command of our battleship, we're terrified of all of these systems. Now, I like this analogy, and I can keep going, and I will. So, if you're the captain of this battleship and you are afraid of making full use of your systems, of all of these tools at your disposal, especially things that tell you what is going on out there, if you're afraid of that and you refuse to use it, that means you're flying blind to a certain extent. And if you're a captain of a battleship and you don't know what is happening out there, that automatically puts you in a state of fear. That means that you are going to be more likely to overreact, overrespond to something, to an imagined threat, because you don't actually know what's out there. You can't get a very complete picture from this array of instruments. So it means that you're going to end up blowing up a fucking fishing boat, and then you're going to have to report back to your boss and explain why you just blew up a fucking fishing boat and killed a bunch of civilians, right? And this works, honestly, I think it represents, family life pretty well, because when you're a dad and you're on a hair trigger and you aren't in tune with your feelings, you are going to be more likely to be the instigator of a friendly fire incident, because you're responding in this fear and ignorant way, because you don't actually know what's going on in reality. You just know your kind of fear-based fantasy, because you have to make it up, because you don't actually know what's going on, because you're not paying attention to your instrumentation. So, to me, right now, I see emotions and feelings as part of my instrument array, part of the whole package, part of my battleship. And I've come to value them and see how to use them to my advantage and to the advantage of the people that I am responsible for or to. And so it's funny, because I've been thinking for a long time how to try and talk about something like emotions with men, and not have the usual knee-jerk reaction that I would expect to get, and to get them. How do you get guys interested? How do you get them to want to unpack this really, quite frankly, sensitive topic? It's kind of radioactive. And I like the battleship analogy. I think it's worth going with, or any sort of, kind of masculine machine like that, because it's easy to relate to, and you can see immediately on the surface, like, oh yeah, a battleship needs to have a functioning radar system. They need to have sonar. They need to have their GPS. They need to have all of it. And as you remove the capacity of those systems, I think it's really obvious to see that the total effectiveness of that battleship goes down. And it goes down pretty steeply when compared to another battleship that has those systems in full operation. And one of the things that goes along with that is that, in that state that you might find yourself in, where your own personal battleship is not getting a very complete picture of what's happening outside. That leads you into that fear state, which puts you on high alert. So your battleship is on high alert. If you're not getting a real complete picture of what's going on, say with your family or your partner, things like that, well, then you're operating by you're operating in a fear mode, danger mode, and your organism is going to be on high alert. Your battleship is going to be on high alert, and just go with the military analogy. A real battleship cannot be effective if it is constantly on high alert. It just can't. The crew and the systems, the ship itself, they need rest and repair, and they need downtime. Otherwise, they're going to get strung out. They're going to see threats everywhere. They're just going to be imagining, submarines and fighter jets or whatever. They're going to be less effective. And in order for a battleship to be able to respond appropriately to what's actually happening outside of it, it's got to have full access to everything. It needs to be able to integrate all of the information coming in, all of the different systems coming in, and the captain sees as complete of a picture as possible, and then makes the most appropriate judgment. The minimum effective dose. Okay, based on all of this, let's do this one little action that does the job, instead of seeing a fishing boat and launching every missile that you've got, that kind of thing. But I think we've got a society of men that are, on some level, they're on high alert, and I put myself in that category, by the way. I feel like I've made progress, but still, it's a, what is it? It's a garden that needs constant tending, that kind of thing, where in order for me to be in a place where I can effectively see what's happening and respond appropriately, that takes a level of calm, that takes a level of awareness and groundedness. Because as just physiologically, as we become more, say, activated, as you become more stressed, as your body is sensing danger in some way, then your cognitive ability goes down. It limits your options, because in a most stressed state, in a maximal danger situation, when you are activated to the highest degree, you're going to be limited to like a few options. That's the fight or flight or freeze kind of thing, right? Like you really don't get any other choices. If this little tiger here attacks me, I don't have many choices. I don't have time. I don't have awareness. I don't have the cognitive bandwidth for really much. It's going to be like run or fight or whatever. Maybe not this guy, but a full-size tiger. You just don't have options. You're biologically the safest bet in that scenario is, hey, you can either run, or you can fight, or you can play dead, but that's it. And so that's on one end of the spectrum. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum, when you are the opposite of activated, when you are the least stressed, when you have, when the if all of your problems go away, and you get a week-long massage, and all of everything is taken care of and you're feeling great, pretty soon you've got access to all of the options. You're like, wow, I could do this, I could do this. I'm totally at peace. I could do anything. There's no limitation then. And so I think one of the qualities, one of the masculine qualities that I'm thinking about more and trying to emphasize is, can I cultivate that calm presence where I can actually make informed, wise decisions, and am I able to make full use of all of my faculties? Like, do I have access to the most options, or am I so pissed off and stressed that my option is like, wow, I could either throw a fit and get into a fight with my wife, or it gets into that territory where pretty soon you're so stressed out that it's like, well, am I gonna, is it stay together, or is it divorce, or is it sell the house, or is it I don't know. You end up in this world of extremes the more stressed you are. And so if I'm gonna pick what type of battleship captain I'm gonna be, then I want to be one that is able to stay calm and take in all of the available information and make a good fucking decision, and stay up to date with reality on the ground, with reality as it's happening, instead of just feeding some story in my head. Because if that battleship captain is just imagining dragons everywhere, well then, yeah, he's gonna find them everywhere. He's every blip on the radar screen is going to be an enemy ship to that captain. And in reality, like right now, I could be justified in saying right now, in real life now, not the battleship scenario, life is kind of stressful. It's just hard to have a couple of kids and a house and a marriage, and it's all new territory for me. And so there's a lot that I can, run away with in regards to stress. But most of that is in my head, because right now, in this moment, I'm sitting on a comfy recliner and I've got my cat on my lap. And it's a beautiful day, it's sunny out, and it is pretty chill. And in this moment, I don't have anything to worry about. And I want to be able to enjoy these moments. I want to be able to get my R&R and not be, say, rehearsing arguments in my head, or having some victim-based fantasy going in my head. It's so weird. It's so weird, the things that go on in our heads. It's like the more consciously aware I get of the thoughts that I'm having, it's so funny. Like it's actually comical, where I'll catch myself. I'm like, oh, right now I'm having a fantasy in my head, but the fantasy is of me being a victim. It's sort of like I'm looking forward to it or something. Like, oh, when can I be justifiably upset or something? Which is to say, being a victim. And that's crazy. Like, I wouldn't want to serve on that dude's battleship. If my ship captain is up in his quarters, making up battles in his head and being paranoid about them, and not responding to reality as it sits in front of him, like, I don't want to be on that battleship. I don't want to be under that person's command. So, this is the kind of thing that I actually really enjoy thinking about. Thinking about feeling. I've had that thought for a while about just how intellectualizing about feelings or emotions is kind of silly, but kind of fun too at the same time. And this guy is just so chill. This is my spirit animal here. He is so cool, so calm, and my God. So, things to think about here. I guess the questions I would have for you would be, what kind of battleship are you running? Like, what do the men think about how you are running the battleship? Are you spending are you spending a lot of time imagining battles that never come? Or does your imagination of future battles make you predisposed to more battles? Are you blowing up fishing boats? And are you, let's see, are you valuing the full complement of instrumentation available to you? That's one that resonates with me. And one of them that I think jumps out to me a lot here would be something like sadness, because it's just such a painful topic for men. Talk about something like crying, because we were conditioned, we were trained, we were taught that crying was weakness, that crying wasn't justified, that crying meant we were, less of a man, that kind of thing. And something like that's done a lot of damage. It's done a lot of damage to all of the individuals to whom that was taught, and it's done a lot of damage to everyone in their orbit. It's done a lot of damage to the society as a whole, because now we've got a whole population of men that think that crying is some sort of moral failure, something to be ashamed of. And it's wild. It's honestly, it's a crazy idea. Wondering how long we've been going on here. Oh my God, 23 minutes. I don't know if I want to go full in on crying right now, because I mostly wanted to talk about battleship analogy. But if you wanted to keep it at the battleship analogy, I think there's a way you can do that. You can slot it in here, and crying is part of the repair process. It's like sometimes you have to take that battleship into dry dock and perform repairs, right? But you can't do that when you think you are in battle. Like, if you think you're under attack, you don't have everyone put down your guns and start working on the ship. Like, you stay at battle stations when you're under attack. And I think we, as a gender, I guess, we feel like we're under attack. And so we're never in a state where we can actually let our bodies do the repair and the healing that they can naturally do. And, again, without going too deep into it, the crying just ends up being one of our natural repair mechanisms. But let's get into that specific nugget in a different video, because I mean, I could make a ton of videos about crying specifically, partly because I love it. What kind of battleship are you running? Are you able to actually enjoy the reality in front of you when it's not, when there isn't a problem, causing you pain right in this moment? Like right now, can you actually enjoy and be let your guard down? Yeah, and what systems in your battleship are you not grateful for and using, making good use of? I think that the sensory ones, those are good ones. You got to know, are there actually, torpedoes headed at you, or are you just imagining it? All right, let's leave it there, and yeah, hope you enjoy your day and have some fun thinking about it. Think about your own battleship. How's it going? What is it doing? What's its mission? And have you scheduled some R&R for your men? So, all right, gonna leave it there. Thank you, and I'll see you next time for more intellectualizing about feelings. All right, bye.